countdown. Well, I guess we're live. What's up, everybody? I'm Dustin Coiner, Talkin Motorbikes, the Ask a Superbike Genius segment with the genius himself from Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha Racing, presented by Attack Performance.
Yeah, that's close enough. They usually leave the presented by off at the end. It's not even part of the official name, but whatever.
Yeah.
I like the fact you say that.
Well, I have to say,
somebody called you a fanboy. Are you a fanboy?
A fanboy of what?
Our team, me.
Somebody said
Our
that.
riders.
Somebody said that, or Josh Hayes said that.
I think Chuck Giacchetto might have said that.
Chuck Giacchetto, he's just mad because we talk shit about him on the show. Like, dude, I'm sorry, man. Like, you were boring on the show. Fuck. You know, like, take a couple of bong rips for the next one, man. Dude.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it is. So you just came off of Brainerd, and, you know, I mean, obviously, you guys have, we'll talk about Jake Springsleed in a second, but you kind of got the band back together, right?
With Hayes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah?
The old fart can still ride. Dude, it's amazing.
He does.
You know, I was thinking on the flight, is Josh still super fast, or is everybody else super slow?
You were thinking about that on the way out there.
No, on the way back.
Oh, no! Shut the fuck up.
I was like, he's like 48, I think, or 49.
Yeah, he's
48.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, because I think.
And he's still doing like the fastest split of a test and the second fastest laps of the race and things like that, and running up close to podium spot on a. He hasn't even ridden Superbike since 2017. So I'm thinking to myself, man, is he really that good? I mean, he is four-time champion. Or is everybody else just really that bad? Which one is it? I think he's just really that good.
He's really good, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a legend, man. Like, the dude's a living legend, it seems like. It's, you know. And then he got that.
And he didn't say Mike can be a bit better once.
Oh, he didn't say that once?
Mike could be. No.
Mike could be. And he used to say that back in the day, right?
I remember first time I worked with him in 2003, I think.
Yeah.
2003. Yeah, because 2 was Spies and Pridmore. 2001 was Pridmore and Richie Alexander. And so 2003 was Pridmore and Hayes. And I remember at Daytona, he went out and did some laps. He came in and said, Mike could be a bit better. And I said, I need a hillbilly to English translator, please. Or was it redneck? English translator.
You don't speak fluent redneckanese?
No, but I did learn some stuff from him back in 2003, mainly about redneck language. Yeah.
Okay.
But he's gotten a lot more less redneck.
Yeah, he seems to still be super hungry to win, right? Like, that guy is.
He is super motivated. That's one thing I can say about him. He still loves it. I think that's. Remember, I used to say.
Desire,
the 3 things that make a rider is the motivation, the talent, and the skill.
Yeah.
And Hayes would tell you that, you know, he's not the most talented guy on the track. He would tell you himself.
Right.
But he has a lot of skill from all the years he's been doing it, and he's super motivated.
Yeah.
So that makes him very competitive.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a commenter, Davey Stone. He says that you guys should keep him and then draw in Viagra sponsorship. Because they got big money.
He's not that old. Come on. He has a little kid. I think she's like,
he's
I don't know.
A couple of kids.
Yeah, but I think the newest ones, I don't know, a little bit.
Like a year or something?
A year and a half, something?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't ask. They're both pretty young. I think he's doing okay in that department.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, for a sponsorship, though, you know?
That'd be more up my alley, I think.
Wow. That's how the conversation goes here, right?
Yeah. Are we going to talk about motorbikes or?
Yeah. Well, you know.
Erectile dysfunction. What are we talking about?
Sponsorship on the side of motorbikes could be Viagra, you know.
I'm not sure if Yamaha would go for that. Maybe.
Dude, I mean, why wouldn't they though?
I don't know. Corporate stuff is.
Yeah.
They have guidelines.
Right. All right. So let's see. Yeah. Okay. Well, So yeah, like you had him out there. So you said it was fun working with him. And was there something specific that maybe you got some data from him, or you saw something about him with the bike to
Well, you know,
hey,
like
to help with Jake, or
all
some,
super experienced guys have ridden tons of different kinds of motorcycles. So if you look at Josh's history,
yeah,
he's ridden Suzuki's. He rode our Kawasaki Superstock bike. He won the championship in Superstock, and on the 750, he rode our Kawasaki Superbike. As a matter of fact, at that same racetrack in 2004, and I think he was clocked as the fastest guy through turn one. You know, back in the day, I can't remember how fast it was, like 160 something through turn one. It was crazy back then. Yeah. How fast the old track was. And anyway, so then he rode Arion Honda. He tested the factory Honda Superbikes. He rode for Yamaha Superbike. I mean, he's had just a big career. So
he raced a MotoGP bike.
He raced a MotoGP bike and got, I can't remember, inside the top 10 in the rain, right?
I think he finished 7th.
Something up there. It was pretty impressive. He raced World Supersport. I remember,
was it
what's his name?
Craig
What's
Jones?
that?
Yeah, when Craig Jones passed, I think he rode in Craig Jones' spot for that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what
exactly. Yeah, and I remember, what's his name? That other Turkish rider was complaining that the crazy American rides so
was it
so crazy kind of thing, you know?
Safoglu over there, Safoglu?
Yeah, Safoglu. Yeah, I think he was like waving at him in the middle of a race, and I don't think they got along well. But anyway, so a guy with that much experience, you put him back on your bike, you're going to get a lot of critique, and so you have to put on your big boy pants and not take it personally. You know what I mean? So he did pick away at the bike, and little tiny areas, you know, like I don't like the way the throttle comes on, you know, but well, Jake goes from 0 to open.
Right.
So he likes to work that little bit of throttle and adjust his line mid-corner. I kept wanting to say, why are you adjusting your line? Are you offline? You know, but anyway, so he has a lot of those types of criticisms, and you just have to work through them all.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we're going to be doing a test at COTA. I think they announced the replacement rider for PIRC, right?
Yeah, they did.
Earlier today.
I got the memo from Andrea while I was out on the bicycle this morning.
Yeah, so Josh will be there for the first part of the first day.
Okay.
Because you know, they announced it was going to be JD Beach, and JD will be in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
To be able to take over for the blazing hot day it's going to be. It's going to be ridiculously hot. You know, 104, I hear 105, and so it's supposed to keep spiking up from noon on. So Josh will at least get a chance to ride in the morning when it isn't quite 100 yet. It might be.
Right.
But anyway, so he you know, he nitpicks the bike a little bit here and there, but it's all stuff that's useful that can help develop the bike in the future, you know?
Yeah.
And he showed a lot of speed. I mean, he was pretty impressive for what he did on the motorcycle. I don't know if running 2 classes helped him, because it seemed like when he got off the 600 and got onto the Superbike, it took him a couple laps to get his head around the brake markers, the turn points, not rushing corners, you know, not rolling everything so much as far as, you know, opening the throttle a little more aggressively, getting through that turn 1-2 area. You know, that was a little bit of a speed differential there from the 600.
Okay.
And areas he was really strong, like turn 3, he could really dive down underneath him. I think he passed Escalante there when he was chasing down who was in third? I think he was chasing down Heron or somebody, but the third in race 1. And if the thing went a little bit longer, he would have probably caught him.
It looked like it.
So yeah. I mean, he had, what was Heron, or was it PJ? I don't remember.
One of those. Yeah, I can't remember now.
Yeah, I don't remember the top 3 was even. That this quickly, I've totally forgot. But anyway, I mean, he finished 4th, so it was pretty good for his debut, having sat off a motorcycle 5 years.
Yeah, the dude hasn't ridden Superbike in 5 or 6 years, and comes
out 2017. So yeah, so that was at 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this makes it year 6.
Right.
I guess you call it 6, you call it 5, whatever.
Yeah. So 5 years away from Superbike, guy goes out, finishes 4th on a bike he hadn't raced ever. Yeah,
he did 1 day on it at some Dunlop thing at Buttonwillow. We didn't change a thing on it. He just went out and did did some laps.
I was there. I remember him talking about how hard it was to ride and how out of shape he is and all.
Yeah, that's all changed.
All the golly gee shuck stuff that he does. But
yeah.
The thing is, back then he kind of was. He wasn't race fit because he wasn't racing except for like
he was off.
One race here and there for the squid dudes, right? The squid hunters.
Yeah. So now he's doing it full time, and he's been training. I think
he looks fit, man. Like to go and do those races back to back like that. I mean,
the first day he looked really strong. The second day, they had a red flag in the 600 race, or that 600 race. I keep saying that Super Sport race. There's no 600s there except for the Yamaha. But they had a red flag in the Super Sport race that pushed everything back, and it was a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
I think he had I think when he got on the podium, they were saying 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, the bikes could roll in 3 minutes. So he basically had to cut the podium ceremony short, run back to our pit, and he looked spent on day 3 of doing this stuff,
He looked spent in the pit box on TV too. Like he was drinking water, and he had it's like you could tell he was taking it. He said,
yeah, was that race 2?
Yeah.
Race 1, he looked really good.
Yeah.
He got off the bike and he was giving us his feedback. And, I said, tell me you're tired because you're not even breathing hard. And he goes, I'm tired. Okay, good. I feel better.
Okay.
I said, I got tired just watching him. I watched him through the 600 race there you go again, Super Sport race. And then watching him in Superbike. I said, man, that dude's doing a lot of work. It was pretty hot too. It wasn't exactly a nice cool day out there.
Yeah, and he got the 87th win. That's
he's a new all-time winner.
Yeah.
Beat Duhamel.
Yeah. Duhamel hadn't raced since what? 2004 or something, 5?
Something like that. Yeah. But Duhamel rode multiple classes. He was a winner in everything practically he rode.
Yeah.
So and back in the day, we used to ride multiple classes. Just they weren't double races. You do the Superbike guys. A lot of them would race Super Sport on Saturday, and then they would Superbike on Sunday. But all the practices switched from one to the other, and so it was quite a busy schedule back then. Even.
Yeah, I mean, I do. What was it? Miguel and Aaron Yates. Occasionally, you would see Doug Chandler on a 600 back then.
All of our guys did double duty. All of our guys did double duty.
Yeah.
All the way back. I think even Pridmore did double duty. I think he rode Formula Extreme and Superbike at the same time.
Yeah.
Hayes, when he was on our bike, he rode Super Stock and Formula Extreme. Spees rode Super Sport and Formula Extreme. It's like a lot of these guys did double duty.
Right.
Richie Alexander did Super Stock, I think, and Formula Extreme. And then later on, Hayes rode Super Stock and Superbike on the Kawasaki, and so on and so on. So it was pretty common for guys to jump off of one type of bike and hop on another.
Right.
And a lot of times they were similar, and sometimes they weren't. It might have been a 600 to a leader bike. And they all got used to doing it. It's kind of unheard of now. They kind of went away from that. But now that you have 2 races, we did 4 races. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think the bikes are more physical now. They're less mental and more physical.
Well, Josh was saying something similar to that at the test, and actually you let Pridmore ride the thing that week too, and they both kind of said similar things, like because the electronics, which are supposed to make the bike easier to go fast, which is true, you have to get the advantage, to take advantage of those electronics, you have to ride the thing much higher, hard.
Yeah, it's not.
You have to ride the shit out of the thing to get it to benefit out of it. Is that
the consistency of the electronics and the better chassis and suspension and kind of here and there on the tires, but the tires back then were pretty good. Those Entecs.
Yeah.
But the consistency of all that and the higher level, the brakes, the stopping power, all that it makes it very, very physical. And it also means that you could ride the bike hard from flag to flag.
Right.
There's no resting. You could ride it hard from the beginning to the end, as hard as you want to ride it. And so that's very, very physical. Same with the small bikes,
Right.
he had a good race in race 2 with the in the super sport class, and I think that he used up a lot of his energy then. So he looked pretty spent before the Superbike race, and still was able to get a second fastest lap of the race. Somewhere in there, right before he ran off the track.
Yeah, and so like I said before, you guys left with Jake having a pretty healthy points lead there.
Yeah, it was kind of strange seeing Cameron Bouvier, mess up a couple times.
Yeah.
Because he rides super predictable.
Yeah.
And super good, right? And super strong from flag to flag. And I don't know why he felt he had to be so anxious, why he was so anxious to get up there. He had pace all weekend, and he could have just hung out like he did at Ridge. He's probably kicking himself now for doing that. But
yeah,
I told Dave Weaver, his crew chief, I said, man, I would have put him aside and go, dude, you can chill. You don't need to be so hurried in the opening lap. Where he started down low on that, it's pretty dirty down there. Remember, Jake was getting big spins.
Yeah.
Trying to launch a bike there, and it was pretty hard to get up into turn 3 because you spin a lot, so you don't necessarily get the whole shot. So that might have happened. I don't know. It's pretty dirty down there where he launches the bike. So Jake got our bikes whole shot really good, and they're pretty good from 0 to whatever. It seems better than BMWs.
Your bikes are good from 0 to whatever.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the first corner is, right? They get to the first corner really quick.
Yeah.
Some tracks are really short and some tracks are really long. I mean, that track, you got 2 fast corners in the straightaway between them to get to turn 3. Really.
Yeah.
That's really your first corner, and when you're on a standing start. And so I don't know if he felt pressured to get up in there and lead every lap, or he just kind of made a mistake in the first one and backed in, got sucked in there, and he tagged the back of Jake and almost knocked him down.
I think they're both lucky for that one, dude.
Yeah, and then PJ went sideways trying to avoid him, and then Skoltz got into the back of PJ, and that sprocket buzzed right through his cooler and his radiator and put oil and water all over the racetrack. I mean, it was a mess.
It was a mess. Quite a bit of cleanup.
Luckily, it wasn't MotoGP, because in MotoGP he would have been penalized.
Oh, who PJ would have been?
No, Cameron.
Oh, Cameron would have been. Oh.
Yeah, you hit somebody on the start like that, you're going to get penalized.
Oh yeah, long lap penalty or a grid position.
Double long lap penalty or a time penalty or something the stewards have come up with. Good old Freddie Spencer and company.
Unless he's unless he was Spanish, right?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. Yeah, I guess they don't give Marquez very big penalties. I don't know.
Yeah, isn't that what happens? Like, there's like favoritism towards the Spaniards in that series, maybe?
No, I mean, that's not what I hear. I think, it is Dorna, and there's a lot of Spaniards there and a lot of Spanish riders and Italian riders, but I think the talent's just kind of there right now. Used to be the talent pool came from the U.S., and then then there was a lot of Canadian talent like Crevier and Duhamel and whoever else. Yeah. And now it's kind of like the Italians and the Spaniards,
Yeah. There's not really a lot of Aussies anymore. There's
There's a few. But
there used to be quite a few, though. I mean,
yeah, it's small. Yeah. And so I think when it comes to bias, I think most people point towards Freddie Spencer and the Honda connection more than the Spanish connection. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think he was a Honda guy, and he's one of the stewards, and that's what I hear. And so anyway, that's what I hear from the backside.
I just got told to turn up my mic, so I turned it up a little bit more. Like, it's almost all the way up. This mic sucks.
Yeah, you kind of mumble in your mic. It's kind of hard to read, hard to listen.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I just have my mouth too close.
Yeah, speak up. Speak up, soldier.
Sound off like you got a pair. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple new mics. The next Google check, I'm gonna get us both mics, and I'm gonna get you headphones.
No, then I feel like I'm doing this thing full time. I don't want to feel that way.
Shut your mouth! Like, you're getting.
I have bikes to build and stuff to design and business to run, and I'm not a podcaster. I'll leave that to you.
Okay.
What do they call this? They call it podcast? What do they call this little interaction?
I don't know. I mean, it's a podcast.
Blog, podcast.
I
something.
think it's two dudes talking shit on the internet. Like that's
Yeah, and other people want to listen to it, which is really weird. Now
yeah.
you have commercials on this thing, which is really annoying.
I'm sorry. Like I don't get to pick that stuff, but I don't. I've never seen one, but
Halfway through a sentence, like Bobby Fong was saying something, and went to commercial.
Yeah, but you know, like
it comes in halfway through the next. I had to back it up a bit to listen to what he had to say.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Yeah, because I saw him. I saw him before race 2. You know, he did really good in race 2. Fong did.
Yeah.
I saw him before race 2, and I'm like, hey man, you guys are really getting that thing going. I said, that's good. I'm glad to see it. You know, we talked about how they lowered the seat because he was struggling with the height of the seat.
Yeah.
And they'd made their own tank tail combo, and I think they just missed by a little bit. They made the thing a little too tall. So Bobby Peterson, Cameron Peterson's dad, he's Bobby's crew chief. They came over and measured our bike. And like, oh, we're like 20 millimeters taller. I'm like, ooh, that's a big deal on these bikes to make them comfortable.
Especially because Bobby's kind of a midget too. So like,
yeah, he's pretty small. Yeah, I heard his best thing. He wants to really ride a Moto2 bike. So I'm like, yeah, you're pretty small. He's fast. He's pretty small. He has a lot of experience too. So he's probably fairly particular about every little setting. But I watched him ride. I'm like, man, he's being so aggressive on the bike. He's gonna wear himself out. And I said, dude, you got to chill a little bit, smooth out. And then I think he was talking about that on Monday, right?
Yeah. I told him you said.
Last time.
You're like, yeah, man, you looked pretty good there for a little bit. It's like, you looked like you were going good,
Yeah.
If you smooth that out, you go a little faster.
Yeah. You know what? This particular bike, the harder you try, I think the less it rewards you. At least I should say it doesn't reward you overriding it. So that when you smooth out, try to hit your points and open the throttle at the right time and let the electronics do the work, that's what rewards you.
Well, Jake seems to have
it's a pretty common tendency to. What's that?
I said Jake seems to have that stuff figured out, man.
Yeah, for the most part. I think where we're lacking right now is the relationship of the tires to the bike.
Yeah.
These tires are quite a bit different than last year. They don't have that same, they don't have that same grip in the opening laps that last year's tires did. They seem to take a few laps longer, especially this, and they seem to be just a tick harder for whatever reason. Not the actual compound, but I think the way the carcass lays the compound down.
Yeah.
It's spread. It's it's supposed to be a little bigger contact patch, and maybe it's counterintuitive that it doesn't have as much grip, but I think the heat built into the old tires faster because of the contact patch size. I mean, that's something that Hunter from Dunlop would have to explain, but it seems that these tires just are taking a little bit of a different setting. And unfortunately, all of our winter testing was on the old tires.
Right.
We designed the bike around the old tires. So it's kind of hard mid-season to just drop what you're doing and go a different direction because you don't want to give up any sessions.
Right.
Yeah, but so you don't want to stray too far outside the window. What's that?
I was going to go into that. I mean, I talked to Kid Hill last night too, and he said that their guys were in Supersport anyway versus last year. They at Brainerd they were quite a bit quicker, but for Superbike, the race winning time the race distance was like 15 seconds slower.
Supersport? I think the only class that went faster was Superstock.
He said their lap times were quicker than last year.
I'll have to test that. Maybe.
Yeah. And I
maybe the small bikes got through that last sector better.
Yeah. Because
they changed their approach to turn 10 and 11 or whatever those turns are.
Was that
8 and 9 or 9 and 10?
Okay.
That left hand, that right hand thing, they changed approach from the carousel chicane thing.
Yeah.
All the way into where it comes past us, the right hander.
Okay.
So that left hander, they changed approach to that. They did something. But it was basically about 8/10 slower on the Superbike through that section.
Yeah, and it looked
like
that.
Make up I could show you some of the data off that.
Okay.
Where we were losing time, and it was all in that section versus last year.
Yeah, I was just curious. Jake's done 29s there, and he didn't go anywhere near that this weekend. So.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I think it was also the track seemed to be not as grippy. So I think the Superbikes may have had a little harder time putting the power down.
Yeah. Somebody said I think somebody told Ken this because I had him on last night, but he said the riders were complaining.
Can you hear that Ranchera music?
I sure can.
What the hell? I'm gonna go outside and tell this guy to turn that shit off. Does he know we're in the middle of a podcast or whatever this is? The guy's sitting right outside, like, blasting his truck.
I mean, you know, I could have my dog come in and bark for a little bit.
I feel like I should be eating a quesadilla right now.
Maybe so. I mean, you know, maybe so. But yeah, so he was saying that there was a few riders that were complaining about the lack of grip, and they were saying that they hadn't ridden that hard to go that slow in a long time.
No, yeah, I think on the big bike the grip was definitely down. You could see how much even PJ was moving around. He was sliding the crap out of the bike. I think he really, really, really wanted to win that second race.
Yeah, he did.
And I don't blame him. And Jake, after Cameron Bobia fell down, I don't think he really, really, really wanted to fall down trying to.
He was right there, though. I mean, Jake was right there. He didn't let PJ get away. You know, I mean, he made PJ earn the shit out of that win. But
yeah, I got to think. I mean, I didn't ask Jake, but the last time before this race, we walked away with a bike that was broken in half, if you recall.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that same corner where Pridmore was cringing every time Jake came through there because he was so close to the edge of the track.
Yeah.
And so I think his approach to Brainerd was a little bit, calm.
Right.
I just have to think that way. You know, the first race we won, obviously, you didn't have to try too hard to do that. You just kept PJ behind him, and that was that. And I think in race 2, when PJ passed him around the outside or wherever he went through that turn 9-10 area, that he said, okay, recalibrate. Let me try to pass him back, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, you're talking about this turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
dude.
Yeah.
And that was one where it wasn't even as gnarly.
That close. No, a couple of them I showed him. He's like, oh, I didn't realize I was that close to the edge.
Right.
I didn't want to say, well, dude, that's where we end up with, trying to buy a drone license for our front end.
Yeah. I mean, would you call it a trebuchet?
Trebuchet, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, trebuchet.
Yeah, I mean that.
That front end was way up in the air. I was hoping it didn't kill a corner worker, but that was last year, and this year we walked away with very minor damage. So I was happy with that, and we extended the points lead. So as a whole, it was a success.
You're right.
Did we want to race Cameron Bobia? Yeah. Do we want to beat Cameron Bobia? Yes. We didn't have a chance to do that, but there's more races to come.
Yeah, it was pretty unusual to have CB out for the weekend. That dude doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Dude, he banged his head hard.
I have not seen him donut a weekend since Indy when he was riding for us, right?
Yeah, he banged his head there too, but not as hard as this. He took like double, triple whack at that thing.
Yeah, it looked pretty.
And then I think they deemed him unfit, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it was a bummer. I would like to see him race, actually. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows. Everybody's a big fan of his. The guy. How could you not be a fan of him? He's a talented dude.
Yeah, he's been riding really hard. I think some of that Moto2 aggression in the opening laps still sticks.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to be that aggressive in the opening laps. But what caught Jake out twice last year. We had that spin around crash. We got lucky.
Well, that was 2021. 2021.
What's that?
That was 21, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, 21. Sorry,
yeah.
21.
Yeah.
22, we broke the bike in half.
Right.
So 21, he had 2 crashes. One in the exact same corner that Cameron crashed. In testing, we were there you were there.
Yeah.
We were there for he did a handful of laps, 6 or 7 laps, put in a fast lap. Next flying lap,
boom.
He crashed the bike and then he hurt his hand and he had to go have it checked out. So he was done. He'd still set the fastest lap of the test. For 2 days later, nobody could go any faster.
Yeah.
He did it in 2 laps. So, and then we came to the race, and in the race, he fell off the thing again, spun around backwards in that corner. It looked like the BMW was going to do the same thing, just spin around backwards, but it caught and it spit him over the top. So that was kind of a bummer.
Do you think it was one of those? I think you've described it as an inertia high side.
Yeah, it slid in with a rear, and the bike's carrying it's got a lot of momentum going in there, and just came around the rear. These tires, they seem to be. I noticed in the data that as the bike goes to full lean, the front accelerates a bit. So the profile is changing somewhere, and we haven't put our finger on it yet. And so when it accelerates a bit, it gives you this false negative slip, you know, in the EB.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that affects electronics, or we're trying to put our, you know, ours is more open loop, so it doesn't affect us as much. But some guys are running closed loop stuff, it might. You know, if they're not tuning up their tire diameters just right. It's something you can see in the data, and it's pretty interesting. But it's something we didn't have last year.
So something I was noticing during the race 1 anyway, and a little bit, somewhat in race 2, PJ was just really hungry to get that win in race 2. But in race 1, it looked, and 2 really, it looked like the Yamaha was quite a bit better than the BMW at some of the exits, specifically the exits of the slower corners. I mean, it just looked like the Yamaha just got a huge jump off the corner.
Yeah.
And then PJ couldn't hang, you know, couldn't take advantage of the power advantage he has, you know?
Well, we were, if you watch race 1, we were really strong in the fastest sections.
Yeah.
So I was pretty happy, but we worked on speed quite a bit going in there, top speed.
Okay.
Because we've been giving up a lot of top speed.
Okay.
And so some of it had to do with electronics. Some of it had to do with taking some risk. Like last year, we were using a lot of strategy in those fast turns, and that hurt some of our acceleration getting off the fast turns. Because if you have a cut in the middle of the corner, but you probably saw Jake just burning the tire coming to turn 2 or turn 1.
Yeah, he would tip into turn 2, and the thing would just.
As soon as you gave it the throttle, yeah. Well, they let the rider take care of that.
Yeah,
it's a pretty hard place to high side, but in hindsight, you could probably do it with these tires. I don't know.
Right.
You know, so we allowed the bike to have more power in those areas, because there's power there. It's just how do you use it?
Yeah.
You know, so we allowed the bike to have a little more power in those areas. So it was a little bit harder for the BMW just to pull up alongside and make a pass. Just couldn't do it. You know, so in race 2, where did he make his pass? In the slowest sectors.
Right.
You know, that rolling out of the carousel chicane thing, and then rolling that left-hander, I think is where he made his pass.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but we were pretty strong, and then the Ducati looked awful coming out the last turn. You know, up onto the bank, up onto turn 1.
Right.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of bumps there, and it just looked terrible. It looked like no fun to ride.
Well, both Ducatis kind of look shit there, you know, like even their super sport bike didn't go good, you know. But Xavi had such a points lead anyway. He could mulligan that one, you know, like. Whatever.
I think he probably came and saw the arm cone. He's like, I think I'll just get some points and go home in one piece.
Right.
You know, that Brainerd, I like Brainerd. You know, I like the area. You know, we went and found this nice. Well, we've been going there. It's a nice. I can't remember what they call it, Ernie's on the Gull or something like that. Nice restaurant on the lake. I mean, it's a pretty cool place to go hang out if you're from that area with the kids and the family and all that. And decent margaritas and decent food. You know, some of the old Yosh guys, which are now M4 guys. You know, Rhett and John and some of the other guys were there. So, you know, we had a good time one of the nights. And anyway, yeah, it's a cool place to go. The Armco it's just use Armco for the pit entrance, and it's not all lined up. There's weeds everywhere growing out of it, and it just looks rough, like a Canadian track, you know?
Well, I mean, it's basically a suburb of Canada, right? Like,
no. Isn't Canada a suburb of the United States?
There's that too.
It's like it's the biggest state of the United States.
Right. Well, somewhat. It's like Northern California, basically.
No, I don't know. I don't know what you call it, but anyway. Yeah, no, Brainerd's a cool place to go. I wish we were on the old track. You know, but they would have to do a lot of work to make that thing safe. I mean, how about I haven't seen a bike hit a wall that hard since Corey Alexander's bike.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing went thud. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, dude. And you hear it on TV even. It's like, man.
Yeah.
Rough.
And Carl Steyer, who was my suspension guy back when Hayes rode.
Yeah.
You know, our Suzuki.
Yeah.
He's now Corey's crew chief. He came back out of retirement from Canada to help Corey Alexander, Richie Alexander was one of our riders when Richie was riding.
Right.
Carl was our suspension guy. So it was totally bring the gang back together. Even Steven Resmer, who was one of our mechanics back then, who lives in Minnesota now, showed up, all white hair and stuff, you know, the hat covering his white hair. And anyway, it just 20 years later, it's just amazing. And again, amazing that Josh is riding the same, like nothing's changed with that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So so Jake's got this, you guys and Jake have got conspired and you're doing this new thing now where Jake's handing out trophies in the winner's circle. Like,
oh yeah. So I hate to sound arrogant, but we got so many damn trophies around here that it's time to give them away. I don't know what to do with them all. I know it sounds stupid and silly, but so Jake's been giving away because he's like, hey, is it okay if I sign these things and just give them away? I'm like, sure, whatever. So yeah, you want to share a picture of this one kid?
Sure.
Yeah, let me show you.
Because Jake's always been that guy. He gives away.
Well, both of you started doing that.
He gives away his Dunlop hat almost every time, and
yeah. So it's starting to load here. Do you see it yet? No. Anyway, so this internet connection is kind of slow. So yeah, and as a matter of fact, I have this trophy here. I think I want to start giving away trophies from the shop.
Right on.
So we got this trophy, and this one here is. See, I don't know if you can read it. It's kind of backwards, isn't it?
It's from 2020.
That's from 2020, but that's Cam Bobier's first place trophy from Pittsburgh.
Nice.
So PIRC. So that was from 2020. I want to give that away. So if somebody wants it, maybe they could come to Pittsburgh, and I'll just give it to them.
Oh, wow.
Or you know what, we could have a little game if they can come up with some trivia stuff. But we have a bunch of them, and we can start doing some trivia stuff. First place trophies, team trophies. Some of them are pretty cool. And they're pretty cool thing to have. Like who's got a first place trophy in Superbike.
Should we come up with a question that somebody could look up the answer to or whatever, or maybe know it, and then just the first person that shows up to Pittsburgh gives you the answer to it, and you give them the trophy?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like what? Let's see. What should we do?
You know, we gave away our team trophy. Some woman, I guess, was over there first time at the track, and she was over there. Taking pictures of our team trophy. It was sitting there on display. I can't seem to share this one thing. I don't know why.
I don't know.
This program you have for doing this thing is dumb.
Yeah, you shared it earlier. I don't know what the fuck happened, dude.
I don't know. It's your stupid program.
Oh, it's my program.
What do they call this thing? Riverside or something like that?
Yeah, it's called Riverside.
The thing's terrible.
It is kind of shit, isn't it? Oh, look, there it is.
Is it? I can't even see it.
I don't see it yet, but I see like you're sharing something.
It kept dumping it. I don't know what's going on with this silly program of yours. But anyway, so this lady comes over and she's taking pictures of it, and Lee's like, "You want that trophy?" I told Lee, just give the thing away, to any spectator that's really, really wants it. And she's like, "No way, yeah." And as he handed her, she was like in tears. She said it was her first time there. It's the best time she ever had. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Give back to the fans a little bit.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Here's a good question. This actually came from one of the fans, and he's probably not.
Oh, it just popped up.
It popped up and disappeared. I don't know. You clicked it off.
I did.
Yeah. So you shared it again.
Yeah.
Irate Barry out of Utah has a pretty good question.
Yeah. Why is he always irate?
I don't know what. I mean, have you? You might not have met Barry yet, but he's a little short guy, dude. Of course he's irate.
Oh, well, yeah, he's got small man syndrome.
Yeah, dude, he's like a little short guy.
A little Napoleon going on.
Yeah, he's got a mullet and everything, Yeah. Yeah. But he just texted me an interesting question that we might be able to use. I was thinking more something specifically with Attack
there you go.
Racing. But
see that?
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, this little kid got a first place trophy. Can you imagine what that kid's gonna grow up like? Like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Or yeah, hopefully maybe that'll motivate him to go racing.
Or he might be filling that thing up with beer when he's 16 and drinking out of it. I don't know.
Or yeah, keg stands and shit out of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, he was happy as hell.
So I rate Barry's trivia question. Maybe I don't know. He said, "What did Mr. Yamaha make before pianos?"
What did Mr. Yamaha make before pianos?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I
don't know either.
Was it World War II related or something?
I have no idea, dude.
I mean, Kawasaki made aircraft.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But maybe, I think the question should be some more along the Attack Yamaha or the Attack Racing realm. Like a certain, like name a rider who did this or whatever or that.
I don't know. We'll come up with something.
Yeah, we'll come up with something.
We have a boatload of trophies. I'd like to start maybe having a little contest to give those things away.
Okay.
We'll just ship them off to somebody who gets it right.
Yeah, if we come up with a question, I could put it in the description of this video too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but then they can do research.
Yeah, that's true. That's lame.
That's no good. Somebody's not Google it.
Maybe not. I mean, I don't know if you could Google back that far with the Attack Racing.
So old.
Right?
It's as old as Hayes.
Older, right?
Yeah, it is older.
Yeah. Wow, man. Oh, he says watches.
Watches, really?
Yeah. Apparently.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Wow, that's something. Interesting.
That might make sense because Tom was telling me that he gets a sprocket, like a watch, I think, every year or after a certain, like, I don't know if it's every 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
He gets a sprocket, it's like a watch or something. And so that make sense why you can get a watch. I don't know. It's also a sprocket.
So I have I have a bunch of questions actually that I'm going to get to. Promise you guys, I'm going to get to all these questions. But one of
let's get to questions because we're talking about boring.
Well, somebody was I'll name them in a second, but one of the fans was asking if we could see a data overlay between Josh and Jake.
If you give me a little heads up on that stuff, it'd be easy, but I'll work on it while you're chatting.
Well, yeah, okay. And I'll give the person credit whenever I figure out.
What do you want, like fastest lap to fastest lap? Or
yeah, fastest lap to fastest lap. Like, that'd be a good comparison, don't you think?
Let me see. I think my Morelli just shit itself.
Your Morelli always shits itself, dude. Especially when you're connected to this crap.
It's Italian software. What can I say? It's a little bit temperamental and emotional.
And a lot of crying and hugging.
Yeah, a lot of hugging and crying is going on with this Morelli software.
Wow. All right, so Tyndall Motorsports says he's throwing this out there because he's working in his garage right now. But as a business owner and a quote mechanic, what advice do you have for time management and running your own shop?
Boy, time management.
Woo, that's a heater, right?
The time management's the hardest thing because you just never know when you're gonna. I mean, it's always the same. Like you're running your shop, right? And I see a lot of shop guys do this. They go, "Oh, that'll take 5 hours. So I'm gonna charge 5 hours." And then, "Oh, that went wrong," or "Oh, so and so called me," or "I dropped that ball bearing in the cylinder," or something. I don't know. Something happens, and that 5 hours turns into 6 or 7 or 8 hours. So you always have to leave a little bit of fudge factor. And then the second thing is if you mess up. Boy, did I say that? If you mess up, don't blame the customer. He didn't mess up. You messed up. You know what I mean? So you don't try to make it up on the customer. You just do what you promised and get it done as fast as you can, as good as you can. I think that's the best thing. And you're going to learn as you go along the way because you're going to be like, man, I did that job way too cheap. And one time this guy told me when I was real young, he said, if you have a lot of business you can't handle, you're not charging enough. A lot of business you can't handle. Like you got people, or you're not being picky enough for the jobs.
Yeah.
So you got to pick and choose your battles also. Okay. So as a mechanic and a business owner, I imagine he's independent, owner operator type thing.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Let me see if I get this data.
Okay, August Nord has a question while you're looking up your data.
Yeah.
She says,
Do you want race 2 or race 1 data?
Race 1.
Okay.
Jake won that one, so.
Yeah. All right.
Right? Okay,
Yep.
So August Nord, she's a privateer super sport racer herself. I don't think I've seen her on the circuit this year, though. She did have a big injury. But she says, why not give someone fresh a shot at the Superbike instead of digging up the past? Perfect opportunity with the championship sealed and 3 more rounds to go. I vote for Rocco.
Rocco's name came up.
Did it?
But it's not my place to pick the riders, so I can't really pick the riders.
Right.
It's Yamaha picks the riders, but Rocco's name did come up, and so there's a few different factors, right? So Rocco's riding an Aprilia,
right,
in the Super Sport class, or not Super Sport,
Twins Cup,
yeah, and Yamaha's got an R7 in Twins Cup, and they would love to win the championship, right?
Right.
So Rocco is obviously in that deal where he's
made himself the enemy.
No, he's not the enemy, and his name comes up a lot. He's a bit of a wild child. I think he would admit that. His dad would admit that. He's looking way fitter than I've ever seen him.
Yeah.
He's pretty fit. I think his riding's getting better.
Yeah.
He has a couple things he's got to work on. The main thing he's got to work on is other than being a bit of a wild child, and he's pretty smart actually.
Post-race interviews.
And what's that?
Post-race interviews.
Haven't really heard that much, but I heard he's not that great. But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't listened to everything because we're busy doing our Superbike thing.
Yeah.
But I know him. I know his dad, and his name did come up. It's just that he's riding that Aprilia, and I hear he's got a shot at riding the Super Sport, a Ducati next year too. So all that stuff kind of weighs into the factor. Plus, they have a criteria, and one of them is which Rocco fit in was, and is he 18 or is he 17?
I can't remember, man.
That was the other question mark, because if you want to give a fresh guy, which is the number one thing Yamaha would like to do, is give a fresh guy a start, right? Show the paddock that, hey, if you do well on the Yamaha, you got a shot at riding the Superbike.
Right.
Blake Davis's name came up also, but he's 16 or 15 or 16. So
I gotta think
18 is a limit. I think Rocco might have turned 18 this year.
I think so.
Yeah. Right. Plus, the other thing too with Rocco is he's terrible in the rain. He's got to go do some rain riding, and he's got to spend a few days at that Dunlop wet track if he can get on there somehow. I would, if I was him, that's what I would do. Not be afraid of crashing in the wet. And that's a misconception too. People think, oh, it's raining, you're automatically going to fall down. Actually, it's less chance of falling down in the wet unless you do something stupid. All you got to do is be smooth.
Yeah.
If you have the proper tires and a decent setup, you just have to be smooth. That's it. And I'm sure he knows how to do that. He just, as soon as it starts drizzling, he's going the back. And you've seen that in the races. So that's a couple of things. I'm being pretty candid with what I'm saying.
Well, look, I say the post-race interview shit too. Dude, like he rode really well, and he got, I think, P2 in the first race, and they throw the microphone in his face afterwards, and instead of being gracious and acknowledging Josh Hayes' win and all that, he kind of behaved similar to Gerloff when JD Beach won instead of him, and I told him about it too. I was like, dude, don't go Gerloff on us on the podium, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, you're better than that.
Oh yeah, Gerloff was almost in tears. I was really embarrassed for him.
Yeah.
I'm like, he should have been.
He had a scowl on his face.
That was JD's first win, and JD's just doing backflips and screaming and stuttering and doing all the things that JD does. He was going nuts, right? Yeah. And then Gerloff's over there like he looked like somebody ran over his dog.
Yeah.
And Gerloff's a good guy. I'm like, dude, come on.
Dude, I was surprised that Gerloff did that. And it's the heat of the moment or whatever. But yeah, Rocco was like, even after the race, race 2, even he was pretty pissed off at himself, like really hard on himself. So,
yeah.
But you know, he's got to work on that stuff. His post race interview stuff has been kind of sus the whole time. So
Yeah, unfortunate. But anyway, so Yamaha explained their criteria to me, and I don't get involved that much with the rider choices. I just, they say, what do you think? And I'll shoot them a list or something, and they'll be like, no, 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 no. And then they'll give you, and then, give us the criteria. It's basically they're looking for promotion, right? If you have a slot open, they're looking for someone that's riding a Yamaha, they can move up the chain. And then if that's not available, which is Blake and Rocco, and we talked about Rocco, we talked about Blake Davis, right? Blake Davis, right? Then the next step is past champions that want to ride, and that's where Hayes and Beach come into play. I mean, Hayes is 4-time Superbike champ, and Beach is 2-time Supersport champ. So, and those guys are both super motivated, and plus, when we put Tony Elias on there, Hayes was pissed. We weren't even thinking about his reaction to that. He was pissed, and I promised him, I said, dude, if this happens again, and that was when Heron got the COVID, right? And that was
at Brainerd,
right before Brainerd, and then we ended up keeping Tony for a couple more rounds. He went to Pittsburgh also,
and Jersey.
We did Beach at Brainerd, and then Beach couldn't do any more. So then it was Tony at Pittsburgh and Tony at New Jersey as well. So Hayes was pissed. So I promised him. I said, man, I'll put the good word in for you. And of course, he knows the Yamaha guy, so there's a little bit of keeping it in the family type situation instead of picking some dude out of thin air. There's a lot of guys who have ridden other brands that could have qualified, but if you're not riding the Yamaha and at least you're not showing something. I know during our conversations at dinner once, and Canfield brought up, like, well, Cam Peterson didn't ride a Yamaha before. I said, yeah, but he already had won a championship, and he was beating other bikes on Superbikes on a Superstock bike, so he showed quite a bit of ability.
Right.
And he slotted himself in there at the right time when there wasn't a gigantic pool of guys to pick from. I mean, we had recommendations from Valentino Rossi.
Right.
So you had one of the VR46 guys, Andre Migno, that they wanted to put on the bike. And that dude trains with Bassanini. He trains with Morbidelli. He trains with all those guys.
That could have been super interesting.
Yeah, it could have been, or it could have been super bad.
Still that, right?
Like he goes to Brainerd or something, and he's like, "What the hell is this?"
Oh, I know, right?
He's back there with Flores, trying to figure out how to get around there. And then we're like, okay.
Wow.
So it was the right call, I think. And then of course the other factories, you want to call them that, Yamaha Europe has their pick, and Yamaha Australia has their pick, and so there's a lot of tug of rope, and so it's just a safer bet just to put on a past champion, like go down the list, like they explained to me.
So is this substitution thing going to be a race by race thing, or does JD have it for the remainder of the season, or?
Why you got to ask me questions I can't answer?
Oh shit! Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't know you couldn't answer it, but okay.
I mean, they announced that they'll tell you later on time, right? Isn't that what they said?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to circumvent anything. I already got myself in trouble on this show a bunch of times.
Me too.
My big mouth.
You know what?
Speaking of that, I'm not going to bash MotoAmerica this time. Not because I got any heat or anything or any kind of misunderstanding or stuff like that. I talked to Chuck Apple, and that's all cool. I talked to Teague and Nicole, but they were super helpful because our generator and our transporter went down right when we're loading up in Laguna. It shit itself. And the parts are back ordered until September or something. I don't know, something crazy. And they want jillions of dollars to fix the damn thing. Right. And so I was searching around for a rental place where we can have a different one of those towable generators delivered. And so I just messaged Nicole, and boom, she was Johnny on the spot with getting Teague to help us with United Rentals, and they helped sort all that out, and they dropped it off the track before we got there, and they picked it up after we left, and the whole thing went super smooth. So I got to thank them for everything they did there. And when I criticize the series, it isn't because I'm just bashing them for no reason. I want them to think about some of the consequences of the rulemaking. For instance, they had an attempt actually at making the track cuts, whatever you want to call it, track limits, track cuts, all that kind of stuff, a little more fair. So they came up with a system for the carousel. Before, it was like a 5-second hard rule, which basically ruins your race. Right. If you ran wide there and couldn't make the turn, lost the front, we got to stand it up, went wide, for whatever reason, and cut that silly little thing they put in there.
Battle, you bump, and then one guy.
Well, if you got shoved out and you didn't gain a position, then probably they wouldn't have called it. But let's say you got in there a little hot, went through the carousel, got a little hot, couldn't make that last little downshift. Bike jumped out of gear and you stood it up, took the exit route, and then you got back on. So they came up with a system that took the average of the last 3 laps, and they said that's what your split should be. And you're supposed to, within that same lap, within that same sector, you're supposed to lose a second. If you didn't give up a second, then they penalized you with a difference plus another second. Oh, shit. So it made it more appropriate for the amount of time you would gain by cutting that little chicane thingy there.
Right.
But the way they worded it was so confusing that I don't think anybody got it. And there was a lot of back and forth at the riders meeting or the team crew meeting. And I talked to Chuck Axland about it, and I showed him the rule, the bulletin, which was out actually a day early this time. It was out on Wednesday night instead of Thursday night, which was good. I wish I would just email you the bulletin. That way you don't have to go to the MotoAmerica's website. I think you tried to look for it. You didn't know where it was at.
Yeah.
And apparently all the bulletins are on the calendar, not the competition rules section, which is confusing a bit.
Right.
But it's on the calendar where all the schedule is and all that stuff. So the bulletin for that event is on that calendar. Right. So anyway, so I grabbed that thing on Wednesday night when I got to the hotel. I saw, I went in there to see on my phone, look at that, they got a bulletin. I better send it to the crew. So I fired it off the crew, and Lee's like, I opened it, I tried to read it, I'm like, this is the wait till the morning, I can't figure it out. Corn Dog thought it was something different than I thought. Marshall's like, what does this mean? We all looked at it and all had a different idea what the heck it meant. So I showed it to Chuck Axland on Thursday when we were setting up. We talked about our show and what I meant to buy it and all this stuff. And he was like, nothing personal, whatever. And so then I showed him the rule. I said, hey, dude, I don't get it. What does this mean? Like, we're not idiots. I don't think, kind of idiots, but anyway, not total idiots. So I think we can read English anyway. So I have no idea. So he tells Nicole, and Nicole texts me, like, oh, crap, I'm being called to the principal's office, right? So can you come over here and talk with us? I'm like, well, we already left the track. We're already sipping margaritas by that time, I think. Right. And so I go, how about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning? So John Cornwell and I went there to the trailer. What we thought the rule meant was completely different than what the idea was. Right. So just a matter of them using a little less words and being more precise. And they put out a explanation, another bulletin that explained it. This time it wasn't one paragraph, it was a page and a half. Yeah. And she was trying to lay out these examples to us, or she was laying out these examples of what this rule meant. I said, cool, I get that. Why don't you put the examples on the bulletin so everybody else can get it? So they put the examples out. But my point of the whole thing is that they're trying. Yeah. They're trying to make it more fair. I still think the Laguna call and that Laguna rule is a bullshit. Yeah. Look. There's no danger there. There shouldn't be a one-time, death penalty if you jump that green or touch it or something like that. I think that's BS. And, to be real,
this show, by the way, Carruthers, this is my fucking show, not Richard's.
And you know what, for Carruthers and Bice, they should at least get their facts straight. Yeah. They said something effective. I don't know if it was in the article on their stupid show of theirs. They said that, and if you know what, if they don't want to hear us, they don't have to listen. They can turn it off, right? Yeah, dude. You don't have to come here and listen. Right. But they said that Jake went his fastest lap when he cut that green, which was completely untrue. He went his fastest lap chasing Beaubier after he passed Heron.
Right.
You know, the fastest lap was the last lap of the race.
Right.
That's what he did. And he got up alongside Beaubier just behind him at the start finish.
Yeah. But this is
so that's the fact.
Yeah.
You know, they should at least research before they shoot their mouth off. It's easy as that.
What I was saying though is like this show isn't a shit on MotoAmerica show. Like we really
No, it isn't. Like, but they take it so personally. They got a fist fight with the audience because the rule is dumb. That rule was dumb.
Right.
To give a guy like Jake a 2-second penalty because he's being unsafe is ridiculous.
Right.
You know, and it isn't just because of Jake. It's because it's not an unsafe turn. By the time you touch a green where they painted it, it's completely safe. You're pointed straight down the racetrack.
Right.
You know, in World Superbike, if you touch a green at all, you get a couple of warnings, and the third time around, you get a long lap penalty or a time problem. Like a Laguna would be a time thing because World Superbike doesn't go there anymore. They don't have a long lap. It's one of the things they'd have to put in there. I don't know where they'd even put it in. Maybe the exit, maybe in the middle of turn 2.
2, yeah.
They pave a little more out that way, and you have to go around the long way in turn 2. I don't know. But they don't have that. The World Superbike doesn't go there, and they don't have a long lap there. And people go on the green in a very much a place that's even more or less safe is the corkscrew. And they don't have a touch the green, get penalized thing over there.
Right.
I mean, dude, if you cut the corkscrew and you bang in the guy on the outside, you can go on that wall on the left side.
Yeah.
That's way more unsafe than that turn 11 thing. So I stand by what I said as far as that rule goes. It was dumb, it was stupid, and it should go away.
Yeah.
You know, or they should at least give us warnings if they really want to play that game. But they tried. They tried for Brainerd. Brainerd's a really unsafe place, and for sure that you could gain an advantage by cutting that chicane, and so they tried to make that work. And I thought they did a decent job at explaining it once we figured out what the heck they were talking about.
It's cool that they listened too. They didn't just leave it as it is and hope everybody would figure out what they meant.
Yeah, apparently Carruthers and Bice just wanted to argue with the fans.
Well, that's I think you said it best. You know, there's a reason why you're not on social media. No,
I'd just choke the crap out of somebody at their house.
Dude, like the comments can get so vile, you know. It's like, damn.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone's keyboard warrior until they meet a real warrior, and then they're like, oh.
Right. That's hilarious. Okay, yeah. So the question about the data overlay, that was Christopher McCreary.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to still fix a stupid track over here, but I'll give it a go.
All right.
For whatever reason, it isn't drawing the map, but let's. This thing's horrible. Let me try one more time.
Okay. We could scrap it if we need to. It's like.
No, it's just being dumb. Of course. Let me just. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So this is race 1. I can explain where the track is.
Okay.
Don't know why it's not laying out the track. Yeah, there it is. Okay, it did it. Yay. All right, let me see if I can actually share the stupid thing. Between the Morelli and your silly Riverside podcast software, this is like killing me over here.
And the software literally is just a web browser. Everybody.
Oh, that came up pretty quick.
Fucking shit.
Yeah, well, it is stupid. But anyway, so this is, you want to see this thing?
Yeah.
So here's the track. Can you see the track over here?
Yes.
Okay, so these are like gears that we use, you know, red being first gear. And so let's look at the track first. Josh did not want to use first gear in this corner here.
Okay.
He thought he was smoother accelerating off of here, and it actually took away a little bit, I do believe. So if you look at where you come, see where start finish is? You see the little X right there?
Yeah.
So if I run this around and you go back to that last corner, you see that blue line right there?
Yes.
Are you sure, or are you just saying that?
No, I see the blue line, dude.
Okay.
Are you talking shit about me? Yeah. Are you talking shit about me being colorblind again?
Yes. Am I talking shit about you about anything? Yes. Give me a reason, I'll talk shit about you.
Of course. Of course.
Anyway, So you see where they've come to the end, the acceleration spot, and you can see Jake. Well, the green is where you want to be,
Okay.
right? So okay, let me explain. Blue is sector by sector. So we have sectors where we're changing mapping or changing whatever, right?
Okay.
Torque or mapping, basically, right? Torque, engine braking stuff. So that's the blue. It divides. That's why there's all these little broken areas, right?
Yeah.
But the green is overall, like where you gain time, where you lose time. So if you look at starting at the last corner there before you drive up on the banking, you can see where Jake gains some time there. So the variance there is like 0.26, and then by the time he exits that corner, the variance there is 0.32.
Oh,
so he's gaining a little bit of time just driving off in first gear. You see that?
He's getting that jump off the corner.
Yeah, where Josh was like, Josh is like a field throttle guy, and he wants the TC down a little bit so he can control the rear tire. Jake's like, smash it, let the electronics do the work. And so he thought it was smoother to come through here in second. Well, we could have probably spent a little more time on first and made it a little bit better, but when we tried, it was like we'd go back to second gear and say it's just smoother. So that's kind of the old school part of him doing his thing, right? And plus, we only had 3 sessions to get it right. Yeah. So it isn't like we had 2 days of testing to make the bike perfect for him. He's jumping on a bike. 3 sessions later, he's racing, right? So it isn't a lot of time. So that's an area there where Jake made some time on him. And then driving through here. So you go back to here where you go past start finish, right? So you're back on this part of the graph.
Yeah. So
driving through there and running up on a turn 1, pretty even. But driving through turn 1, remember Jake doing the big spinning?
Yes.
I mean, he made a big gain there, right? So let's say you're 0 there, and at the end there, your variance is 2/10. He gained 2/10 just driving through turn 1.
Shit.
Jake was really strong there, and then they were even in turn 2, but Jake was super strong in turn 1, and in race 1, Josh was saying, "I'm still working up to it," which I found it kind of surprised because he was an animal on our Kawasaki back in 2004, going through turn 1. No one could. Matt Mladen couldn't touch him. Jake Zemke couldn't touch him. I mean, he was just a lunatic going through there. So he has calmed down a little bit, I guess, and that's having a family, 2 kids, this, that. I don't know if it calms you down, but I think it might have calmed him down a little bit. So then they're pretty even getting through turn 2, like diving in there and just getting through the corner, and then Jake picks up just a little bit coming through 2, and then Josh was pretty strong on the brakes going to 3. That was a strong point. And he said that. He would turn into the apex of the corner, and then he'd make up a little bit of time on Jake there, but then Jake would jump on the throttle a little bit early, and then Jake would get him on the drive out of 3, going into 4, but Josh was a little bit faster in 4 than Jake, so it would come back like this. And then Josh was actually pretty fast going in out of 4, carrying the roll speed here, which was funny. This was this sector here, which went from here to here, like went from there to there.
Yeah.
He said, "I don't feel good through that sector." I go, "Dude, you're the fastest guy in that on the track in that sector. You're red in that sector a bunch of times. Like even the race, he kept popping up red. In morning practice, he was red." He goes, "I just don't feel good rolling here, So it's amazing how people pick their best sector and criticize the crap out of it, So anyway, he makes up a bunch of time on Jake in that sector. And then they're pretty even coming out of 5, or what is this thing? 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're pretty even coming out of 6. And then Jake makes up time on the entry of 7, where at that time, or 8, 7 is a little kink right here. So the carousel's 8. So he makes up time on Jake, or Jake makes up time on him through the carousel, through the chicane, and makes up a little bit more time on that right-hander, and then they're pretty even all the way to start finish.
Right.
So by race 2, it changed a little bit because Josh picked up a few things, and actually Josh had a little faster best race time than Jake did. He was actually winding into it. Do you want to see any more of this or no?
No, I think that's pretty telling. How close they're pretty close. Just a couple.
Yeah, I mean, there were strengths and weaknesses in both spots, and I'm perfectly honest with you, I think that after Cambodia fell down in race 1, Jake went not in cruise mode, but he kind of went in defense mode, just kind of was minding the gap to PJ.
Right.
He didn't really go, I'm going to destroy everyone. Yeah. And again, I think the tires just don't let you destroy anyone anymore. They don't have that oomph right in the beginning. So you have to do the slip and slide the whole time. So it makes it, for the fans, it makes the competition a little bit tighter.
Yeah, I mean the racing this year has been awesome, right? I mean,
yeah,
fans'
yeah,
perspective.
Good for the fans, bad for us.
But this is what you wanted, man.
No, I know. No, I welcomed the Tytlers guys, and I thought it was great when Cam Bovey signed with them. It was a little bit of a surprise, but you know, I thought it was going to be really, really hard racing against that guy, because I know what he's capable of, and I know they have a good bike and they have a good crew, and so it's been fun. I mean, even the Suzuki guys are bringing it with. I mean, Posh was doing really good this weekend, right?
Yeah.
He kind of getting his head around that thing, and obviously Escalante's, he stepped up his game quite a bit too, and you know, the Westby guys have had a bunch of bad luck.
Yeah,
I call it bad luck because, you know, weird things have been happening. I've been in that boat before where strange stuff happens. Everyone's like, "You suck," you know, and they don't suck. They just been trying to get through. They've been going really fast. You know, you see some laps that are crazy, and they got on the podium on the second day, which I was happy for that. You know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean,
you know,
if they weren't, you know, if Skoltz wasn't riding well, I mean, Bobby, another lap or two, you know.
Yeah, no, Bobby really figured it out.
Yeah.
And he likes that track for whatever crazy reasons. And you know, I like the area more than the track. And the people are always really friendly, even though it's out in nowhere.
Right.
Just if you go off the beaten path a little bit, like near the couple of lakes, like Ernie's or some of those other places, I think it's a pretty cool place to hang out.
Yeah, it's all water parky in that area, right?
Like, yeah, kind of family water parky thing, but there's still, you know, adult stuff to do.
Right on. Yeah, like drag racing a snowmobile in the lake or whatever.
I've been out tested when we were with Kawasaki in 2005, I think.
Yeah.
It was Adard and no, it might have been 4. It was Hayes and what's his name, Tony Murray.
Oh yeah,
Tony, right. That was a teammate of Hayes. Yeah, one and done for us. And yeah, he was a pain in the ass. He's probably a nice guy now, but man, was he a pain in the ass to the rider. he made. I mean, Rocco has nothing on him.
Really?
Nothing. Oh no, Tony was the worst when it came to working with.
Oh man.
But everything was wrong with the bike all the time. Didn't matter. But we went there and tested in the winter of all places. The Kawasaki race boss had this great idea. We're going to go all the way to Brainerd, Minnesota for a winter test. And when we were driving in, there was like snow on both sides of the road, and the guys were riding their snowmobiles or snow machines or whatever, you know. So we're driving up there, and I'm like, are we going to test like freezing outside? And Roger and Tommy Hayden didn't do a single lap. They went there. We got in one of those garages on the long track, and you know who was the only guy that really rode? Hayes. Yeah, and that turn was back then. It was fast. He rode Myring 600 just to tell him to show him it's good, you know. And he rode our Superbike. It was like he was an animal then too.
Yeah.
Nothing was gonna keep him off that racetrack. It didn't matter if there was snow on there.
That's why he's a legend, right? I mean.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a couple more. I mean, I have a massive amount of questions. People have just been.
Yeah, let's get to the questions instead of yapping.
Hey, man, you're the one. All right, so.
I know.
All right.
You got about 15 minutes.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so Alex, I don't even want to try to pronounce the dude's last name, but another guy commented similar thing, Proto, but it was about Top Rack. So the Alex wants to know if you watched Race 2 of World Superbike Czech Republic and how Top Rack put on a braking clinic for Bautista lap after lap until his Pirelli blew up.
Hasn't Top Rack been giving everyone a braking clinic?
Yeah, and then Proto's question is, how come Jake can't brake like Top Rack? Or is it just his style, or is it the tires?
We've been working on that. You know, like I said, Cameron Bovey was a little surprised in at Laguna when or at Ridge, I think it was Ridge. I'm sorry, Ridge. He said, "Man, those guys figured out some braking. They couldn't get past Jake for a bit, and it took them all race long up to the last 5 laps." But we've been working on that. Jake's whole style is corner exit. Yeah, so it was a little bit of maybe a little bit of a rude awakening at Portimao when he was losing almost a second in the first split.
Right.
He's really strong and the sweeper onto the front straight at Portimao. But we were losing almost a second in the first split, and that was all mainly in turn 1 and 2, which was heavy duty downhill braking going to the G out section, and then another decreasing radius turn 2. So that stuff we've been working on. We have some new calipers. We've been working on different front end settings. I think it's making Jake better at the brakes. But that's something I do believe that we need to spend a little more time on, is the first third of the turn, which points you down. And there are some things that are peculiar with our bike that Hayes pointed out that we knew about, especially at Laguna and MotoAmerica. With more at MotoAmerica than Laguna, which is something that a lot of other guys had, which was this slide from the rear right as you get to the apex. And I think Fong pointed that out. I don't know if you talked about that on Monday on your show, but
maybe.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't specific about it, but he told me about it. He's like, "Hey, dude, man, that thing just wants to back in when I get into right to the apex." And Hayes mentioned and Jake does it too. Just touch the throttle and set the rear, and it grabs.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
MotoAmerica is the same
He actually
thing.
described something like that, but
Yeah.
I didn't understand what you were. He didn't articulate it the way you did. So.
Yeah. So it's a corner entry, and it's right when you get to the apex, the thing just wants to come around, and that's what crashed Bobier out. The exact same thing. You got to the apex, the thing came around, whoop, spit him off. And it's just that little thing, and you touch the throttle and it settles. So what happens is you want to back up a little bit on the brakes to get the thing pointed down the racetrack. So once we get that a little tuned in, I think we can get to the apex on the brakes a little bit better.
Okay.
That's something we're going to work on at COTA. It's something we know that we need to fix.
Proto asks, do you plan to develop a new engine update for MotoAmerica?
We have one we're testing at COTA. If it doesn't go bang on this fuel, then we'll probably race it at COTA.
Because you said
the engine we had it.
You said you were hoarding COTA fuel, right? Like you have like known good.
Yeah, we have some fuel from 22 because we got a drum of the last batch from 22 and we put it away because I hate to say it, but we don't trust the ethanol blends that we're getting out of VP. Wow. I think they're hydroscopic, and I think they're not really happy with our engines. Our engine specs, we've had to dumb down our engines. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And but we've worked at speed in other areas instead of just raw horsepower, not muscling through everything. And so we're able to I guess fine tune our top speed through other ways. And I thought we did a good job at BIR because I think Jake had the fastest splits in the first sector, and speeds were always like in the 55s and 56s, 54s, that kind of thing. And same as Cam Bobier. The only person that was really fast was PJ. I mean, I think PJ's, I don't know, a little dumb, and he gets through turn 2 really fast.
A little dumb.
I mean, wow. He doesn't have very much going on upstairs, so he's just through the corner.
He's a lunatic, for sure.
He is a lunatic.
Yeah.
So whenever you go somewhere where it's like crazy speed, and he was like 158 regularly, 156, that little extra 3 miles an hour, whatever that's worth. But in the race, he couldn't do anything in that sector. So I think we've done a good job at diffusing the BMWs a bit. But I think COTA is going to be a big challenge because you have that long straight, which is straight.
Yeah. It's there's no way around it, right?
Yeah, we'll work on it. We have some stuff, but I think it's hard to make a gigantic gain mid-season. I think we'll have to wait till off-season to do some stuff.
So Track Time Focus says, I guess he's talking about Brainerd being a really flat track, especially after.
Not really.
He says, especially after coming from the Ridge and Laguna, did that force any bike changes? or to allow for bike changes?
Well, Laguna was completely different setup because they had so much grip.
Okay.
And we're running harder tires, and we're pushing the front a lot because the rear had so much grip. So I think at Laguna we did a good job at keeping the tire wear down on the front. Everybody's tires were graining, and ours looked like they could go another race. So I think we did a good job there. We just weren't able to take full advantage of it in race 3, because it was such a different setup we put on right for race 3, and it took Jake a couple laps to get his head around it. By then, the lead group was a little bit out there, and he had to chase him down.
Yeah.
Plus, our other rider kind of was racing, which I don't blame him. He wants to win as bad as anyone. Cam Peterson. He held Jake up a little bit in a couple of the corners, but Jake got by, and then it still took him a little bit of time to get his rhythm. And then by the time he caught up to, by the time he jumped the green a bunch of times to make up 2 seconds a lap or whatever, it was a little too late.
Okay.
But that was basically a pretty different setup than this track. This track was definitely a slippy track. So I think it benefited our bikes. We just can't seem to get all what we want out of these tires.
I guess another off season of testing at Buttonwillow will fix that, right? Hopefully.
I think if they're not going to change the tires, then for sure we're going to have to come up with some new stuff, linkages and stuff, steering geometry, things like that to get the most out of it. Even weight bias of the bike, maybe new fuel tank, maybe new ride. I mean, these tires are so different on our bike than they were last year. So we'll have to do quite a bit of stuff this winter.
Oh man. Okay, so Bearded Jixer, we gotta have a Bearded Jixer question in here.
Of course.
He wants to know your thoughts on all the bikes being thrown away this past weekend. Do you think it was the riders pushing too hard? Do you think it was the shitty tires or lack of grip overall?
I didn't say the tires were shitty. I just said they had a certain character that we have to get our head around. I don't think they're as good in certain areas as last year's tires.
Okay.
I'm not being politically correct. I'm just saying this is because we've been able to go faster at some tracks and not other tracks. Like the tires were so ridiculously grippy at Laguna. We could have gone probably on the rear. We could have probably gone double race distance on it and not seen anywhere.
Yeah.
And we had to actually induce tire spin to get the thing to steer and take some of the load off the front. So this track, the track is more shitty than the tires, if you can put it that way.
Yeah. And
Hunter was talking about going down on hardness of the tire for next year if we go back there.
Okay.
Like bringing the 197 compound, which used to be the red tire.
Okay.
Which was they used to call it a pre-Q. When we had the real Qs, we would have that 197 compound, we'd go out and do a few laps, and we throw the Q on. So they're thinking about putting that compound back on the rear, and I think that would help a lot of the corner entry stuff we're seeing.
Okay.
The low side, high side thing that Bobier did. I think the tire could fix that.
Okay. So, and then to add to that, he wants to know what went farther, Jake's front end from last year or Corey Alexander's fuel tank?
I think we have the altitude record. I think that front end was pretty high up there. I mean, you see the trees coming back in the frame. Yeah. I don't think the camera could keep up with it.
Yeah.
Alexander's just cleared that wall a little bit, but it didn't have no altitude. I think if we were a pole vaulter, we would have got a 10. They'd probably get a 6,
Okay.
Something like that if you want to rate it on a 1 to 10 scale. But as far as the sudden stop and impact and the thud, that was pretty harsh.
Okay, so how about this one?
I asked Carl, who's the crew chief there, because we stay at the same hotel, and he's at breakfast, and he said, "Nah, I had to build a whole bike from scratch and barely have any parts and that kind of thing." So everyone struggles about the same stuff, trying to have the components of the transport.
It looked like the only thing salvageable on that thing was like the oil filter, maybe, right?
I asked him if it broke the engine because I thought it hit the engine pretty hard. He goes, "No, the engine was okay, but of course it got full of dirt, so it's not." Right. So it's a bad situation. And then he went out and crashed in race 2 also. So it was a bad weekend for those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ate up a lot of stuff. So it was good for them. They are able to salvage it with a win at the end, right? So
yeah.
You know, same with the Westby guys. They had kind of a crappy weekend going into it. They broke an engine and or they got, you know, the hole saw treatment or the chainsaw treatment or the BMW chainsaw to the radiator and oil cooler.
Yeah.
And then in race 2, they finished 3rd, which was good. You know,
Yeah.
ran really fast laps, really good.
Okay, so then let's see here. Track Time Focus says, say next year's R1 has a front wing. Could you drop lap times?
If the R1 had a front wing?
Yeah.
It might help. I mean, we're not MotoGP. It depends how much the front tire can handle. You know, it might help. It might help as an anti-wheelie. Don't know. We have to try it. Again, it's all about the whole package, right? I mean, MotoGP's the wings are designed a certain way to go around the rake and the length of the bike and the balance of the bike and how much grip it has. All that stuff's kind of tuned together. Just sticking a couple ears on the bike and going, we're good, we're faster. It doesn't work that way.
Cody Kreger, he's got a question that for your trivia thing, and it's like, who was the rider that Attack got their first national win with? That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you have the answer,
except for Cody, since he came up with a question, he can't answer. He can't answer.
Yeah, he's ineligible. But whoever comes to Richard at Pittsburgh, and
we can do it now.
Oh, you want to do it right now? No,
sure.
Okay. All right. In the comments, if you have the answer to who won,
Are they going to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, and you got to go to Pittsburgh to get it.
Well, maybe that disqualifies a lot of people listening because we're kind of California based, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's your shit, man. Like, you tell me how you want to give it.
Yeah, but it's got to be instant. Like, I got to say the question, somebody's got to come up with the answer. Otherwise, they'll just be sitting there all Googling away.
848 Evo says Chaz Davies.
Way wrong.
Way wrong.
That guy should give me a trophy for saying that.
Bro, like, that was Chaz Davies was after what you're talking about. So no.
Chaz Davies won Daytona in 2008.
Yeah. We
started racing nationals on a national level in 1993.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, AMA nationals.
Right.
Not WERA or Formula USA. That doesn't count.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
I mean, Chuck Graves was still racing motorcycles back then.
He was, dude. He was.
He was fast.
So, Track Time Focus says that Rocco's going to be 18 on December 2nd. So he's got a little bit.
Yeah, so he's disqualified anyway.
Yeah.
If that's correct.
And then Alex says, what is it with this dumb corporate allegiance required for riders to move up to the next class? There's so many good.
No, that's not it. No, it's not it. Corporate allegiance. No, I think he misunderstood.
Yeah.
They give the opportunities to the people that have been loyal first.
Right.
It's not a corporate allegiance. I mean, Cameron Peterson didn't have corporate allegiance when he was racing us on the Suzuki.
Right.
He just did a really good job. But let's face it, our paddock is a little short on big talent. Yeah. I mean, Bobby Fong's name came up too. It's just that, again, a lot of factors play into it. Fong had a ride on an R1, our old R1, you know, so he's already in the paddock doing his thing, and he's got that for the rest of the year. Our deal could be a one and done, so why ruin that? So all that stuff kind of comes into the whole calculus, but it isn't about corporate allegiance.
So
it's just about who's doing a good job, and if you don't have a guy that's readily available on a moment's notice, doesn't have a job, then you got to pick from the crew that you have.
Right. All right, so 840 Evo is taking another shot. He says Curtis Adams.
Way earlier than that. And way earlier than that.
And then let's see. Abraham says Josh Hayes, and he spells it Haze.
Like TrackDaz.
Right.
Nope. Again, way before that.
Okay, and then Proto says Don Canet.
No, Don Canet, he ran it as high as 5th on that bike. he has the right period, and he has the right bike, but it wasn't Don Canet. He ran as high as 5th, I think, at Daytona, but he fell down on like the second, third lap, got sucked into turn 1.
I'm like, am I eligible to win this shit?
I think so, but you can't say it. If you really want a trophy, just come by the shop. I'll give you one.
Yeah, I mean, no.
I mean, we worked hard to get these trophies, and we spent a lot of money doing it. So I would like someone who appreciates it, unlike yourself.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't appreciate it or mount it on my wall like your broken shit.
Yes.
Like, you want to show off the new thing that I'm going to hang up at some point? Do you still have that sitting there?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I should probably get permission from the Westby guys, but they had a big explosion at Laguna, and they came to show me this connecting rod. I guess the bike or something backshifted from 5th to 4th at top RPM.
Yeah.
You know, like he was in 4th at near limiter, and he shifted to 5th, and then it jumped back to 4th. Like maybe he got a soft pedal, you know, like it didn't push it all the way in. Which the R1's got just a ridiculously strong transmission. Like you can't. If somebody says my transmission is jumping out of gear, it's not the transmission. It's probably your shifter, your lever, your crappy rear sets, your electronics aren't set up or whatever. But anyway, this thing blew up. Another, it was a bad day for the Westby guys. But Chuck came over to show it to me and he threw it in my garbage can. So I figured, you know what? I think Dustin would like this kind of stuff. But anyway, here it is.
You're like, Dustin likes our broken shit.
Oh, yeah, look at this.
Dude. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have my guy mount that on some kind of piece of wood or something.
This is amazing.
Yeah, that's.
Apparently the piston was down. It worked the piston down around this thing. It was down below it.
Oh wow. That's
what I heard. I didn't have a chance to look at it, but I pulled this out of the garbage just for you.
Well, appreciate you dumpster diving for me. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. Being the super fan weirdo that you are.
Hey. All right, so how about F1 Sport? Oh no, he says Don Canet also. Okay, so Mino Mayashiro says Steve Rapp.
Nope, way before that.
Okay, FS Sport says Doug Tolan.
Remember, I said the period. So the period was Don Canet, and I'll give a bigger clue here. Don Canet rode our bike in 1993 for a Second World magazine. Okay. And we did Daytona with it.
Yep.
Okay, so that gives you kind of an idea about that period.
Okay, there you go. I
didn't say it was 1993.
848 Evo says that he did that same thing to his Chevy Vega in high school. And then August.
First of all, why are you driving a Vega?
And then August Lawrence says that thing looks like it needed the blue pill.
the what pill? The blue pill.
Wow.
The one that we're going to advertise on the side of the bikes.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah, dude. Wow.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, so I don't know. I don't know if anybody's going to get it, dude, but that's a good one. That's a good one. So first person gets a trophy. Maybe we should come up with something a little bit. You know what? For the next time or whatever, let's come up with something that we come up with. Okay.
And the first person, and make it not so difficult. First person that answers it, boom, gets a first place trophy.
Okay. Yeah.
Or a team trophy.
And you know what? I mean, I guess this question's burned, yeah, or no?
What's that?
Is the question that people are asking right now and not getting right?
Yeah, probably. Should we just go ahead and say?
I mean, let's see. Yeah, FS1. Dude, we already asked Don Canet. We already said Don Canet. He said no.
Yeah. Don Canet was good, but he didn't win anything on our bike.
And
go ahead.
He also said Doug Toland.
Doug Toland rode World Superbike on that Second World bike that Don Canet crashed at Daytona.
Right.
Later on, we did Laguna with Doug Toland. No, he didn't win the World Superbike.
Aha. See?
That would have been pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You went okay, but it wasn't great.
Yep. Yeah. So
they actually had, it was a YZF 750 SP, and Second World had this painter paint the gas tank, but he didn't tape off any of the stuff. So when he painted the gas tank, I think he sprayed clear and everything down inside the hole.
Oh, good times.
Like a typical painter moron, So we show up and I think that was a dumb shit, right, for painting inside the gas tank. I mean, what kind of idiot painter does that? And this guy was like supposed to be the shit, like that thing sat in their lobby So we show up. My guy helping me assembles the tank. This, that, was foam in it. Put the thing in there, go out, and the thing starts misfiring. I'm like, what the hell's going on? We ran this thing on the dyno, blah, 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 blah. What's going on? So we wasted a session trying to figure out what. And here we are draining the fuel, and some of the paint that was inside the tank got all melted and jellified and just ruined the fuel pump and pickup screen. So I take that whole thing apart, clean the inside of it nonstop, trying to stick your hand in there and stuff and get all the paint and crap out of it. And anyway, that was our experience, World Superbike first session at Laguna Seca in 1994, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go. So everybody's wrong, dude. I think we might end the show and nobody's going to get that question. That was a tough one.
Should I just go ahead and say it?
Yeah. I mean, let's see. Anybody else want to give it a shot? All right.
No. All 5 people watching?
Yeah.
All right. So here it is. I'll go ahead and answer it. Okay. I ran out of time because I don't want to be. They probably can't Google this anyway. It was Paul Harrell in 1997.
Do it, man.
And that was in a class called Formula Extreme, and we beat the Ariane Hondas at, should I just say where? It was Pikes Peak.
Yep.
And we beat them so bad. The only person that didn't get lapped, I shit you not, was Andrew Stroud, who was Andrew Stroud and Doug Toland who were on the Ariane Hondas at the time. And it was Andrew Stroud trying to chase down Paul, and Paul just split. We kept fooling around with a trail number because that place had this fast entry sweeper coming off the banking. Pretty dangerous little small track. It was under a minute the whole lap, like 50-something seconds. And we kept fooling around the trail, and to where we got that thing just really would dive into that first turn really, really good with the offset. And just nobody could touch Paul. It was just his day, Yeah. Just split. And Andrew nor Doug Toland could catch it. Anyway.
It's so funny that you hinted at it repeatedly. Anybody that knows this shop should know the Paul Harrell thing. Come on.
Yeah, Paul Harrell kind of was the beginning of
yes.
He was like the genesis of national level racing.
Yes.
He was the genesis,
Yeah, they'll have to go back and watch like our
for us anyway.
The first episodes of this.
But you know what? None of that was a while ago, huh?
Yeah, from
2020, right? We started doing this thing. We talked about the history. Yeah. The thing about all that information, it's all kind of gone.
Yeah.
All that AMA history is kind of gone. I think that AMA scrubbed when they went to DMG, I think they scrubbed their server, and I think there's one guy that might have all the info, all the qualifying times and all that. We used to be able to look all that stuff up on the AMA website. It's all gone. Weird. How stupid is that?
Yeah.
It's all you got left. And, there's no Wikipedia back then or anything. So
there was no internet back then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's no internet. There might have been, but it was a military thing.
Yeah. Right. It was like it took porn to like expand the internet to everybody. Right.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, doesn't porn just drive all the new technology, basically?
Well, apparently this is all going back to that blue pill again, huh?
Everything goes back to the blue pill.
And your blue pill rod?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we done yet?
Yeah, I think we're done, man.
You're getting stupid. Is there anything else you want to ask? Anybody else want to ask something?
I don't think so, man. I think we're good, dude.
All right. No other, like, where did Jake lose lap time? I think we already did all that stuff, right?
We already talked about that. We talked about the MotoAmerica stuff. I mean, we pretty much covered Brainerd. Testing
again, I feel kind of bad bashing all those guys not all the time, but when they, I know how hard it is to try to make everyone happy. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So Nicole's got a really hard job. I'm not trying to be nice to her, kiss her ass at all. Right. But I know what it's like to be on that side of the fence when you're trying to be leading a group, and then and I don't even like those. I don't even go to those rider team meeting things, because it could be just a group bash fest. You ask for ideas or something, and it's like having a team meeting where it's an open forum instead of you just telling them what to do, and everyone's like, Johnny did this wrong, and yeah, screw you, right. You're an idiot, and then you end up with this bashing thing, and it just doesn't work out well.
Yeah, and I've also,
I guess she got frustrated, and she grabbed the mic and at that meeting, they're all asking her about that carousel thing. She's like, "Do you guys want to go 5 seconds? Is that what you want?"
Whoa. Jesus.
So she got a little bit frustrated, but it was cool that we got a chance to tell her what we thought from a team's perspective, and they listened and put out an addendum or whatever.
Well, you know what, man? Like, to back you up too, because I mean, I'm guilty of talking shit about MotoAmerica this season too, but I'm just trying to get them to do better. And I also have been on the other side of the fence, being part of government, so to speak, from two different clubs on the club side, and even that's hard work. So like the national level is super hard.
Even your TrackDaz thing when you threw me off the track because a big Willow.
Hey, nobody's above the law, even my friend Stanboli.
You're like, you're done. You're thrown out. Like, what?
I don't think I said it that way, but yeah, I think.
No, you said something effective. I got to throw you out, or else I don't. No one's going to respect me.
I don't know if I said that either.
What's that?
I said I don't know if I said those exact words, but yeah, like
it was something of that nature and that thought.
Sticker, right? I pulled your tech sticker.
And if you were my super fan, you would have threw me out.
Oh man!
The track day.
That's so funny. All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, go back to work, dude. This is
work.
Yeah.
It's late. All right, later.